Good evening, and welcome to CB8 Speaks. My name is Sharon Pope-Marshall, and I'm a member of Manhattan Community Board 8. Manhattan Community Board 8 extends north from 59th Street up to 96th Street and from 5th Avenue over to the East River, and also includes Roosevelt Island. I have the honor and indeed the pleasure to have as our guest this evening Valerie Mason. She is chair of Manhattan Community Board 8, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say, welcome, Valerie, to CB8 Speaks.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Sharon. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you here tonight.
In addition to being chair of the Community Board, you are also president of the East 72nd Street Neighborhood Association, and also you're on the board of the Women's Prison Association and Home. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I've been a member of the board of the Women's Prison Association and Home for more than 25 years.
Wow.
And it has been a truly gratifying experience. I came to them through my work with the New York Junior League, and I was very interested in these women, how they got to where they were, but most importantly, trying to give them a second chance, or maybe even a third chance at putting their lives together. And over the last 25 years, we have helped a lot of women turn their lives around with their children and become very valued members of society, which I think is a really important role of society, to try to help those who find themselves in circumstances that no one would want to find themselves in. I'm most recently proud of the fact that we, working with some other not-for-profits and Xenolith partners, just put together an affordable housing project in Brooklyn with 75 apartments, and some of them with supportive housing for these women to come to and to start their lives again with their kids. So very exciting stuff.
Okay.
It can be done in New York City.
It can be done. What drew you to Community Board 8?
I think community boards are probably the best kept secret in New York City. There are few people who really know about them, and those of us that find them get hooked, as you have too. And I think community board is sort of the first step in getting involved in the process of having influence and governing New York City. It's a place where the community can come and talk about the various issues that are affecting them. It doesn't always have to be about what the community board has on the agenda. We have a monthly meeting where the public can come and speak about anything they want to. And it's often very eye-opening, the first 45 to 1 hour of our meeting, where members of the community can come and speak on any subject they like. And that's where you really feel the pulse of the neighborhood and what's going on. I'm a native New Yorker. I grew up in Queens. I never knew that there was such a thing as a community board system at all. What got me hooked was the Second Avenue subway. I never knew that the community board was sort of overseeing, or that's where the public hearings were happening. We had an issue with my particular street had an issue with the placement of the entrance on the 72nd Street station. And that's how I came to my first community board meeting. And it was very raucous. Our meetings now are hopefully not so raucous, but it was very raucous, and the community was very energized. And as I started to go to meetings just related to the Second Avenue subway, I realized that there was a lot more going on. And sort of I got bitten by the community board bug, and I've been going to meetings ever since. So,
wow, fantastic. So what's your job like, and how you're able to sort of integrate the time commitments of everything that's involved?
I do have a more than full-time regular job. I'm an attorney. I'm a banking attorney. So my regular day really doesn't have anything to do with the community board issues that we face. And I've been practicing law for well over 30 years. So I do have a sort of stable footing there. My husband and I have always been active. We have one boy. He's 29 years old now, and he's very active in government affairs too. I come from a family of community activists in their own various ways, shapes, and form. And I have a sister who lives in Community Board 8, and whatever I don't see, she sends me texts about
Exactly.
all day long. So yeah, I don't have a lot of free time, I guess, but this is what I choose to do in my free time. So it's very rewarding. I love my neighbors, even the ones who sometimes are not too fond of me. And I've gotten to meet people like you who I very much enjoy, and made all of these new friends as a result of Community Board 8.
So you've been chair now for a year.
Yes.
And what does that feel like?
Well, it took a while to get my sea legs. I have to say that even though I had been second vice chair and first vice
feel
chair,
like that. It
well, I
felt like you
appreciate
hit
that.
the ground running.
Well, I appreciate that. Well, I had a really good chair preceding me, Russell Squire, so he sort of made things work. And also, we have a great board staff, and so that kind of continuity makes it easy for somebody new to come in. It took a while to get my footing, and we faced some really big issues in my first year, such as City of Viest, and we had a couple of ULURPs along the way, and they went pretty smoothly. But actually, as chair, I've gotten to know all of the other 49 members of the community board a lot better, and that's also been a lot of fun. And then the other aspect of it, which I didn't really think about when I agreed to do it, was going to the monthly borough board meeting, where we sit down there are 12 community boards in Manhattan, as you know, just listening to what's going on in other neighborhoods in Manhattan, let alone, don't even talk about the other, four boroughs, but at least in the borough of Manhattan, all the different things that are going on. It's really exciting to see how involved other New Yorkers are in what's happening in our city.
You're right about that, in particular with the borough boards. And for our audience who may not know, these meetings are open.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's not just the community board meetings, but also the borough board meetings, which are hosted by the Manhattan Borough President.
Yes. We have, on occasion, city council people who come to the meetings. We get briefings from various city agencies about a variety of subjects and programs. And just getting to know the other boards and establishing relationships with those chairs, and then having the ability to work together on issues and finding common ground on a variety of things. I mean, CB7, which is right across the park from us, we've started to talk about the fact that, people are talking about dedicated bus lanes. And by the way, that bus goes across town. So it's nice to try to work together on different projects.
I'm wondering how you think that community boards are viewed overall.
We're advisory. It's too bad that we're advisory. I wish we did have a little bit more, statutory authority. But our opinions are valued, especially when it's not just 1/12 of Manhattan, but it's maybe 11 out of 12 boards feeling the same way.
Right.
So it's very interesting to see how we fit into the whole process.
Because sometimes there's this love-hate relationships between community boards and, let's say, city agencies. And sometimes when even I talk about community boards in general, I refer to their original name, which was community planning boards. And has your experience been that it's a collaboration with city agencies to solve and address problems?
I think it can be both. I'm very excited. We recently, just in our last meeting, passed our ideas for rezoning in our district, and I think it's going to be hopefully very exciting to work with city planning to rezone some of our streets to make hopefully more housing available to people who want to move into the Upper East Side.
And I'm excited with you, Valerie.
Good.
And what the community board is doing under your leadership is focusing on manufacturing areas and or lots and rezoning it so that it can produce housing.
Community District 8 has been struggling with the lack of affordable housing for, I'll just say forever. I mean, we unfortunately hold the #1 spot in units of housing lost over the last 10 years.
That's actually worth repeating because, because given the density of the community overall, your first thought is not that, whoa, we lost housing.
Right.
And we lost affordable housing.
Yes, a lot of it. I think people have great hopes for the city of Viest, and we worked very hard deliberating that whole plan. And I think there are those among us who are still unsure as to what the real positive effect that will have for us. Our wanting to create more affordable housing in our neighborhood and whether that will really have an impact. It's not only the loss of the affordable housing units along First and Second Avenues in particular. We're not only losing affordable housing, we're losing affordable business space. All of the mom and pop stores and restaurants that we treasure are falling by the wayside. And it really has the effect of ruining what is our community, which is this interesting mix of tall and short and mom and pop businesses and you know, big box stores. And a lot of the mail I get is just, you know, what's really happening to the context of our neighborhood. And of course, Valerie, how can you stop it? I wish I had that kind of power. I think it's only when people see it happening, they realize how important zoning and planning is. I mean, for me, it's so apt that you brought up that that was the former name of the community board, that it was a planning board, because it really did start as a land use vehicle and for planning in the neighborhood. And somehow, you're right, we have lost a lot of that influence, but I think community boards are trying to get that back. And I feel that vibe when I go to borough board too. So it's very interesting. I know that there's a new housing project on the west side near Hudson Yards, and everyone's really excited about getting affordable housing, but they don't want to have a 600-foot tall building in order to do it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
So what are the next steps regarding the rezoning?
We sent off our resolution to city planning, and I did say how excited and proud we were of our effort and hoping that we hear back from them. I mean, I have it in my tickler file. I'm not going to let it go more than 30 days if I don't hear from our friends over at city planning. It should be a non-controversial rezoning that we can hopefully get some units out of.
I couldn't agree with you more. And it's consistent with this emphasis on increasing housing and, to the extent practicable, affordable housing. It's consistent overall with Mayor Adams' agenda to increase housing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, look, you can go up and down the Upper East Side, and I don't really want to leave out Roosevelt Island, because that is a very important part of Community District 8. But if you go up and down First, Second, and Third Avenues, there's so much housing going up. But we're talking about apartments with the, you know, the bottom line is $2 million, and, you know, that's not affordable housing.
And sometimes those buildings actually took the place of the demolished buildings.
Right.
And then there are less tenants in the building that's built.
Right. No, well, that's what's happening.
Than the number of tenants that they had evicted to build.
The buildings are getting taller, and there are fewer apartments. And we're seeing that everywhere, and a lot of it is as of right. I mean, not to get started on that, but you know, our as of right statutes have been as of right for a really long time, and maybe we need to examine what as of right really means in New York City, because what was as of right 75 years ago maybe shouldn't be as of right today.
Right.
But let's see. I mean, I think some of the projects that are announced for Midtown South, with perhaps 9,600 housing units coming online, I think that's all positive. I know we agree that we'd like to see some of those affordable units coming online in Community District 8.
the district overall is not seen as one that needs housing and one that needs affordable housing. So what has been the impact of the lack of affordable housing? What impact has that had on Community District 8?
Well, we lose a lot of our young people,
Mm-hmm.
people who grew up on the Upper East Side, who, can't afford the rents that are being charged on the Upper East Side. We lose a lot of young families who can't, need more than a one-bedroom apartment for 3 people, or somehow miraculously are living in a studio for the first year of their child's life, but at some point have to have another room. We're missing out on those families, and they're going elsewhere. And I think for any community to be vibrant, you need to have people at all stages of life. And that was one of the issues with one of the projects that came before us, was that it was offering up affordable housing, but only in the form of studio apartments. And yeah, we want people to come out and sample our neighborhood, but we want them to stay.
Yes.
And if they can only live on the Upper East Side in a studio, well, if they grow their families, we're losing people that we want in our community. So we have to have affordability at every level of housing. We're hoping that, the elected officials are going to help us. I mean, because we can't do it on our own, obviously.
Yeah, I think collaboration, what you're alluding to is absolutely correct. Focusing on the community board. So right now we have the community board application process open.
Yes.
To the end of February, if you're interested
Yes.
in applying.
Yes, and you and I are both reapplying. I hope
Yes.
we make it, since I'm elected to serve out for the rest of the year, so that would be nice. I encourage people to put in their applications. I know I'm not going to tell any secrets out of school, but I do know some people who will not be reapplying, so there will be open spots on our board. And as time goes on, due to term limits, there'll be even more spots. But I think people should, it's not easy being on the community board. Let's face it.
That's a really good segue to talk about the time commitment, number one. And then also Community Board 8's public member application just closed.
Right.
So maybe you could talk about, first of all, the time commit and the difference between a public member and a full board member.
A community board member, you apply through the Manhattan Borough President's Office, and we have 50 spots. And typically 25 come up every year. And I think the term limit now is 8. So 8 years that you can serve. So roughly 4 terms. And then people were sort of grandfathered. So there are a lot of people who are going to have to roll off. You don't have to have experience on a community board to be on a community board. But if people are considering applying, they should really start coming to some of our meetings, so they can actually see the time commitment involved. And it's not just the full board meeting, which can be, even I try to the best of my ability not to have them go beyond 2 hours or 2.5 hours. But we all also have to serve on one additional committee: transportation, Roosevelt Island Committee,
Yes.
Street Life,
Communications.
Thank you, Sharon. Sharon is now the co-chair of our newly reinvigorated Communications Committee, and thank you so much for doing that. And our Zoning Committee, and these task force that we have, and out of which now we have this great plan to rezone our manufacturing streets and zones.
So the public member.
So
that application process just closed. Yes.
Now, not every community board has a public member process. For us, given our bylaws, the idea with the public member process is not just to add people to the community board. I mean, all of our meetings are open. Anybody from the public can join, and we encourage that. We want that. And you have the ability to speak. You don't have the ability to vote, but the more that the public shows up, the more we can hear what people are thinking about these various issues. and we as their representatives can represent their voices better. So that's one aspect of it. But the public member piece is you apply really to be a public member of a specific committee. And I will say that I'm looking at rather judiciously, meaning I want somebody who's going to be a public member to add something that's in some way maybe lacking, or if you have a special area of expertise, like if you're in zoning and you're an architect or you're an urban planner, and we don't have that on the board. But I will say we are blessed. We have a tremendous amount of talent on our board in a lot of specialties. It is, and I am thankful for that. Believe me.
So the difference is you'll be appointing the public members. So you're reviewing the applications
yes.
now.
I think we got like 20.
Oh, okay, fantastic. Yeah. For full board members, they're 25 or councilmatic, so they're recommendations of the council member, and the other 25 is a borough president appointee, straight appointee. But the borough president does make all of the
final decisions.
Exactly. Okay. So in looking through the applications, I know that you're looking for specific skill sets.
The application asks the applicant to talk about why they want to be in our particular committee. So it could be, bringing a different perspective on the way we look at zoning. It can be you're a transportational professional, and you have some, one of our members is a transportation person, I'll call it, in a different district, which has been invaluable to us. So, you can have some special skill set. You might be working in a public relations firm and you want to be on the communications committee, things of that sort. So just something that adds some kind of specialty. Or if you're a parent with young children in public school in our district, we don't have a lot of parents with young kids on our committees, and it's a really important issue. Like just last year, the priority issue for District 2 schools came up, and we heard from a lot of parents. And so I think we have, maybe one or two public members on to serve in our Youth and Education and Libraries Committee. So it depends on what we're doing. But like I said, even if you're not a public member, you are a member of the public, and, welcome to come and participate fully in all of our meetings. We have regular participants.
Yes, we do.
And I look forward to hearing them every month. So it's great, I think. And we want to encourage, and I say we collectively, me and the rest of the community board, really want to encourage a wide array of voices to come to our meetings.
So to learning about your vision for the community board overall, particularly with this engagement with the community.
Well, my vision is just having to shut down the meetings because there's too many people there. I really do. And I want to hear different voices. I want to hear, what's happening on particular streets. I want people to get engaged, and I want them to stay engaged. I don't want to say I don't want everyone to be like me, but there's always going to be, I think, one issue that brings you to one of our meetings, and then it's up to us to keep you coming. So yeah, I want to see those people start out with one issue and then say, hey, it's really important that I stay engaged for my community, for the city of New York, really.
Any surprises that you had this past year? Like, wow.
I was actually so pleasantly surprised that we had a unanimous vote, unanimous positive vote on our rezoning application ideas. I thought that was great.
Wow, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. Kudos to Adam Wald and Elizabeth Rose, who chaired that committee.
Yes, absolutely.
And really put in, as I said earlier, there's a ton of work that goes behind the scenes. It's not just appearing at meetings.
And we could use them actually as an example, because Their committee had a great deal of meetings, really engaged the community, had conversations about the best possible rezoning for a particular manufacturing lot.
Yes, absolutely.
Took pictures, did tours,
Right. And actually had one-on-ones too.
one-on-ones, and so very labor intensive. Elizabeth, Rose, and Adam Wall did a fantastic job at pulling all of that together.
And it was remarkably surprising and gratifying that various opinions on the board all seem to just come together and say, yes, this is what we need to do. So that, that was a very pleasant surprise. I haven't been negatively surprised yet, but again, I'm really all about just hearing from everyone. So the more people we hear from, I think the better job we're doing. So I hope we get more and more people to come out and just sample us once, and you'll come back for more.
Be careful what you wish for.
Oh, whatever.
Well, you seem up to the task. It feels like you take your vitamins in the morning, so you're on top of it for the evening meetings.
I'm trying. And look, I don't know when this is going to air. Obviously, we're going to have the Northwell, Lenox Hill, ULURP. And again, we want to hear from everybody in the public. And we're trying to set up those hearings to maximize that so that we can reflect what our community is thinking about these projects and hopefully make them better. And to your point, to have the community board be a positive influence on all of these projects.
Wow, really appreciate you taking the time to
and
be with us on
CB8
Speaks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. And if you've missed any of tonight's program or would like to see previously recorded CB8 Speaks programs, please visit our website, www.cb8m.com, and look for the CB8 Speaks link, which is on the upper right-hand corner. If you are a resident of Manhattan Community Board 8 or work in the district or have significant interest in the community, you can get involved, as Valerie and I were discussing, with the community board. Go to the website and click on the link, get involved.
Thank you, Sharon. This is lovely.
Yeah, it was.